Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Bitter Rivals podcast. This is episode 98. I am your host, Avery Roush, along with co-host Gitano Gallo. This is after a 2-week absence. Sorry, I just finished my semester, my little summer semester of school, so I was grinding.
And we were both dying last weekend.
That is also really true. Gitano had no voice, and I was sick and hungover, and then I was also sick on Monday. So that's kind of why we're here now. Anyway, there's a lot to talk about, especially considering it's been a couple weeks. So as we know from I believe the last thing we touched on, we just talked about it, was Kyle Dubas getting fired. I don't believe we had the press conference yet, the Shanny press conference.
I don't think so.
I don't believe we had the Shanny press conference yet. The Shanny press conference was very, very revealing. He detailed, I encourage you to go watch it if you haven't already, he detailed almost start to finish of the week that led to Kyle Dubas getting canned. I think this is going to end up turning into a lot of he said, she said.
It already has, really.
It's a really, really weird scenario. I think most Leaf fans can agree on one thing, and that's they wish it never happened. Because it's bad on all ends. It looks like we're disorganized. We lost probably the better GM. We have a new GM, and I think our old GM is better. I think Kyle Dubas is a better general manager than Jim Treliving. But it's just been a really, really strange kind of sequence of events as to how things have transpired here. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, the whole. It's not I'm not a Leafs fan. I'm not super into it, but it kind of started as we want to bring Dubas back, and Dubas was like, yeah, it's Toronto or nothing. And then just like that, it was, Dubas is out and he's going to Pittsburgh, and it just, really, really, really weird.
Well, I think the Dubas press conference really struck Brendan Shanahan, in a weird way. It really, really, he did not like that. He was not a fan of the Kyle Dubas showing emotion press conference. That was something that Shanahan almost took as weakness. That's what it felt like. And non-commitment, I think, is another kind of feeling that Shanahan took out of that.
I don't know how much non-commitment it could be from I'm either here or I'm not going anywhere else.
We're paraphrasing here, but Kyle Dubas did say, essentially, I will be a Toronto Maple Leaf, or I'm going to take time to think about what my future will be. And I believe what he said was, you won't see me pop up somewhere in a week. Which is almost exactly what happened. It was 2 weeks, but that's exactly what happened. And Kyle Dubas gets promoted. And let's be fair here. He lied. He lied.
He also got fired too, right?
That's exactly it. But honest to God, even if he didn't get fired, think about this. If your competitor, you work at Little Caesars, if Domino's comes and says, I'm going to pay you $10,000 more and give you way more autonomy to do your job at my place, you're probably going to take that, right?
True.
And that's what happened. They said, you can be the president of hockey operations. You get Shanahan's job, but in Pittsburgh. I'm doing that every time. So I don't blame him for taking that position. The irony of him saying what he said, followed by that, I think is very interesting.
We also don't know if Pittsburgh would have offered that job if he had, if that opportunity would have even been available. If he had just said in that press conference, I intend on signing, it's just a matter of finalizing, dotting I's and crossing T's. Does he get that offer? Probably not.
Yeah.
So I think it's just, a small pebble in the lake, big ripple. You know what I mean?
I do. It's messy. If I could describe it with one word, it's just messy from top to bottom. We don't know the particulars either. We don't know if the Dubas camp was asking for full autonomy, because I think a lot of these guys now, the Draggers, the Saravallis, and the Friedmans, they're all reporting that there were tensions there. And we all thought it was hunky-dory. Everybody loved each other in that front office. That's what the feeling was. And I don't think that's what was going on. I think there was animosity there between Dubas and Shanahan, because those feelings that Shanahan developed didn't develop overnight. You know what I'm saying?
I get that. I also think winning makes everything a lot more hunky-dory. And
well,
unfortunately,
remember the Leafs have had these past 5 years have been 5 of the best regular seasons in Toronto Maple Leafs history.
Cannot argue that. But I hate to be a dick here, but what do you have to show for it?
I understand.
You have 5 games in the second round. And I'm not trying to be a dick to you, Abe. I'm talking, if I'm Shanahan to Dubas, it's what.
Would you agree that Brandon? Here's something that you got to remember. Would you agree that Brandon Shanahan is considered one of the greater hockey players of all time? Let's go with top 100. He'd be there, right? And he's a guy who won Stanley Cups and knew how to win, right?
Yeah, for sure.
He didn't win a Stanley Cup until his late 20s, dude. That's...
No, I get that.
Austin Matthews was born... Austin Matthews is a year older than I am. He's 26.
Yeah, I know. He's a year younger than I am. I know.
Mitch Marner was 26. These guys have time. You can't just give up on them because they
No. And I'm not saying you should give up on them. I'm saying, if there's going to be some tension if you're not getting the progress that you want in the playoffs. Because I don't mean to be a dick here. Regular season achievements mean nothing. You can win all the President's trophies and Atlantic Division titles you want. If it doesn't end with a cup, or at least a fucking good run at it, not 5 games in the second round, then yeah, that's not what the Leafs are looking for. And I understand why that would create animosity between, the management
members
and
of the
upper
front
management.
Office. Yeah, no, I understand it. I think it would be so much better for everybody involved, like Shanahan, Dubas, the Leafs, if none of that happened. If it was just, you're our GM, here's your contract, you're our GM. And it didn't happen. And I don't think Treliving is an upgrade. Let's talk about what he's got to do right now. He's got to sign a couple of really big contracts, right? That's something that he is going to be tasked with. The last 2 big contracts that guy signed don't look very good right now.
No, it's Huberdeau and
Kadri.
Yeah.
So those guys are early to mid 30s, and he signed them to 8 and 7 years deals worth upwards of $7, $8, $9, $10 million. That is not what I want to see happen. That just doesn't sound like something that would be beneficial to the future of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Well, the other thing is the guys who are up for renewal, either now or in the future, the immediate future, I'll say, aren't in their late 20s, early 30s. They're, if let's just say, for argument's sake, Matthews he'll be 27 when his deal runs out, right?
Yes.
That's a big difference from signing a 27-year-old to a 7 or 8 year deal compared to a 30 or 31-year-old with 7 or 8.
Well, in Austin Matthews is a little bit different than Jonathan Huberdeau and Nazem Kadri as well. It's a much.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not trying to say that the same levels, but you know what I mean. You're getting 3 or 4 more prime years out of that deal than you are with Huberdeau and Kadri for sure.
Yes, no, I would agree with that, and I'm worried about what's going to happen. I really am. I'm worried about what Treliving is going to do. If there is a positive that I could take from it, the positive would be that this is a guy, there's no... with Kyle Dubas and these guys that need contracts, there was always... They have a prior relationship. There's expectations there. There's animosity from what happened last time. There's all of those things. With Treliving, none of that exists. He doesn't know these guys. They don't know him. Right? This is all...
Yeah, they're starting from scratch. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the only positive, though. Other than that, I don't see a positive outcome here for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, no, I definitely think... we'll break it down to 2 parts. Firing Dubas
was a mistake.
I think Treliving is probably the best available option.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't have been in the position where that was an option to begin with.
Exactly. That's exactly everybody's issue here, is that they should have never been in that situation. Because Kyle Dubas never should have been fired.
Now, if he chooses to walk, different story. Entirely different story.
Yes.
But you fired him. Like, that's right.
I know. And it hurts. It really, really hurts. It's not like we fired Mark Bergevin.
Hey, Bergevin's fucking totally fine. He is a totally fine NHL GM.
No, he's not. He's terrible.
He's totally fine.
When you describe a GM as fine, that's not a good. That's not good.
Well, here's the thing. I think there are very few good, like really good GMs, like very few. And then there's just a group of guys who just are GMs, and they're just fine. Like they can run a team. And then there's, you know, the dog shit, the fucking Edmonton Oilers, fucking
Jim Benning.
Yeah, like we don't need to.
Edmonton
at
least has done some damage. Like it's not fair to rag on Edmonton anymore. But Vancouver, on the other hand,
yeah, like that's the thing. Like, so I think Bergevin falls into the fine category. Like, he is a totally fine NHL GM.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that one.
I think Brad Treliving is in the same position where he's
upper tier fine.
Yeah, you can say upper tier fine, but like he's not great, but he's fine.
Yes, they had some good teams in Calgary. Like that's they do, and they never had guys like Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner or I guess they had guys like William Nylander, but nothing like Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner. So I think that's something that I could look forward to as a positive, maybe. Anyway, let's move on to the Dubas in Pittsburgh. So, like, what do we think that's gonna what's gonna happen there? They're running it back with their core.
I'll say this is kind of something he's never done before. You know, he started from scratch basically with the Leafs rebuild. But like to have to either move.
That's not as GM. He started as AGM for the full rebuild. He was GM right when Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner's entry-level contracts were up 3 years into their career.
Yeah. But it's like he didn't have to, you know, move out Deadwood or, you know, and I'm not referring to the Crosby, Malkin, Letang as Deadwood. I'm talking like the rest of the Penguins. You know, shifting all that Deadwood out. What do you do with the big three? Do you try and keep them? Do you try and see if you can get something for them? Do you know, so it's a really new situation for him, and I'm really intrigued by what he's going to do and how he's going to handle this.
Well, and he's going to hire a GM, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
Like that's all signs point towards Ray Shero being that guy who will be the GM of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So we'll see what happens there. I think that's just extremely interesting what's transpired there. And the other thing that I think, like, he was so complimentary of the Fenway. Who's the Fenway? Like, I know who they are, but like, why are they so revered and like?
Because they just own a lot of teams. It's the Red Sox. They've got Pittsburgh. They've got Liverpool in the Prem. Like it's a lot of money. A lot of like LeBron's involved in that, in like the investment and ownership there. So like, yeah, it's just
no. Well, he made in his introductory press conference there, he almost made it sound like working for the Fenway Group was better than working for MLSE, and I think that's just total horse shit in hockey.
In hockey terms, for sure. In terms of like the full-on sports world, maybe not. Just MLSE Fenway Sports Group is just kind of globally massive compared to MLSE, which is kind of, you know, North America and.
No, I understand that. I'm talking specifically in the sport of hockey. Like,
specifically
MLS
the sport of hockey, I would.
Team, I get that.
Yeah.
Like, I know.
No, but that's I said in the sport of hockey, like MLSE should be, you know, top tier or just about, you know.
Yeah.
But it should be really interesting to see what he does there.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be. It's gonna hurt if they do something positive. I'll tell you that. If they can turn what wasn't a very great year in Pittsburgh and make a quick turnaround and be good next year and be a contender again, I will cry. I will cry real tears. Because I know that guy should still be the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I wouldn't bet money on them being good in the next couple of years, but I think give it 4 or 5 years for sure they'll be back.
Dude, in 4 or 5 years, how old is Sidney Crosby going to be? He's going to be like 40.
No, but I think that's why I'm not saying they're not going to be good these next couple of years. I don't think they're going to be contenders right away. I think the rebuild is what is going to be Dubas's not crowning achievement, but I think that's going to be the big goal. Is not let's win, next year or the year after. Let's win in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I don't. That to me that doesn't make any sense. And the reason that doesn't make any sense is just because he just in his press conference doubled down on betting on those guys and competing with those guys. That's what he said he was going to do.
I'm not gonna lie, I did not fucking listen to his Pittsburgh stuff. I haven't paid attention to it. I couldn't care less.
So that's what happened. Is he doubled down on that. He's not filtering out the Malkins, the Crosbys, or the Letangs. That's not going to happen.
That's a bold choice.
Well, it's Sidney. To be fair, it's Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. Chris Letang had a great year last year. If you look at the numbers,
I get that. I get that. I'm not going to argue with them being good players. I just think.
So were you are you hinting that you think he's going to you thought he was going to go in there and trade Sidney Crosby for assets so that they could be good in 4 or 5 years? Is that what you were insinuating?
Not Crosby, but I would not have been surprised if Malkin or Letang got moved. I think Crosby, you ride him out to leave whatever he wants to leave, and that's it. Not leave, retire. Like whenever he wants to retire, fine. Like we'll ride him out till then. Wow. But I think if you could get somewhat of a return for a Malkin or a Letang, and it gets you that one kind of step closer towards a rebuild, because they need to rebuild. Those guys are all 35, 36. Like you have to rebuild.
Yes.
I don't see what waiting 1 or 2 or 3 years does for you. Might as well kind of start it now.
But that's the thing, right? Is saying you're rebuilding is committing to trading. That's what that means. I'm trading Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby will be moved for assets. That's what a rebuild is. I
get that.
That's not going to happen.
No, but I think it should. I think that would be the smarter way to go about it.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but that's just not. I don't think that's going to happen. Let me put it to you this way: Kyle Dubas was interviewed, had chats with Sidney Crosby about this move, about becoming president of hockey operations in Pittsburgh. He's not trading him. It's not going to happen.
Anyways, do you want to stick with coaching and management in the league for a minute?
Sure.
Because we got some news coming out today that Mike Babcock is set to be the next coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Back in the NHL for the first time since 2018? 17, 18, something like that?
17, 18, something like that, yeah. Since we got embarrassed by Marc-Andre Fleury in Vegas, and that got him fired. Yeah.
So, thoughts on him being back, him going to Columbus?
So I haven't looked much into this. I just kind of briefly heard it. You told me before we started this podcast.
Well, the news is only dropped this afternoon, so there's not been a lot of time for analysis from anyone, even the pros.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I thought he's a coach, so I guess he can have a job, but I think he's a bad coach. I don't think he's a good coach. I think it's going to be interesting to see what he can do. Pardon?
I think that's a bold claim, saying Mike Babcock isn't a good coach.
He wasn't in Toronto. That's fair. It didn't work out in Toronto. Yeah. Let's because you're right. It is a bold claim to say that. He had a lot of great years in Detroit. I understand that, but it just didn't work out in Toronto, and that will forever taint my thought.
100%
of Mike Babcock. I think it'll be interesting to see this guy come in, and take over a very, very bad team, similar to how he did in Toronto. And it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of map out the same, what happens in Columbus now. Are they going? Who do they draft? How do they develop? And I'd like to see how that's going to work. I think it's interesting just because he's an old school coach and they're going to be a very young team. And I don't know if that's going to work. It didn't in Toronto.
I think the fact that it's Columbus is definitely going to help, because there's going to be basically no pressure compared to his previous job in Toronto. The expectations are going to be very, very, not low, but not high.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm really excited to see how, an old school coach with kind of a new school generation of players plays out. Because he does have some good players in that team. He's got Laine, he's got Gaudreau. Who's the young kid?
Kent Johnson.
Yeah, like they got some good young players. So I'm interested to see how this turns out. But I can definitely see it being a train wreck.
I think it'll be a train wreck personally.
I don't think it'll be a train wreck. I don't think it'll be perfect, but I don't think it'll be a train wreck. I think it'll just be like, okay, and then he'll lose the room and get fired.
I guess I'm a little too critical of Mike Babcock, but
yeah,
always will be. All right, you wanted to touch on the World Championship and the Canadian men winning gold.
Yeah, the men won gold, captained by Tyler Toffoli. Really, really impressive tournament for them. Only the one loss, played really good, and that team was not star-studded. Let's be real. That was a very third and fourth line Team Canada, and they played really well and got another gold medal for the boys. And yeah, I'm just always happy when Canada wins at any level, any tournament. We'll always take it.
Yeah, no, you love to see the boys win gold in that red, white, and black. Their jerseys are. Yeah, it was they played. Who did they play in the final? I honestly didn't watch a lot of the tournament.
Played was it Germany.
Germany.
In the final.
They played Germany in the final. That's who it was. Yeah, you love to see it. Adam Fantilli had a tournament. I know that. Scored a beauty goal.
Yeah. Like, that kid's good.
Yeah.
Like, I feel bad that he's in the Bedard draft.
Pardon?
I feel bad that he's in the Bedard draft, because he's that good that any
other
year
who I don't feel bad
the
for?
Fantilli draft.
The Anaheim Ducks. I don't feel bad for the Anaheim Ducks because they just got a player there. Him, Zegras down there in South California.
That's a pretty decent 1-2 punch. Because Fantilli's a centerman, is he not?
I think so.
I thought he was.
I think so. They have another couple of big guys down there. McTavish is down there. Drysdale's down there as a defenseman. So they could be good in a few years. We'll see what happens. See what else they can pick up. I don't know why somebody wouldn't want to live in Southern California. So maybe some free agents. Never know. Anyway, yeah. That's all I really got from the World Championship, though, was Adam Fantilli's really good.
Yeah. Oh, and I got to shout out Latvia, winning third for their first ever men's hockey medal. Phenomenal stuff. And they beat the States to do it. You got to love it.
Yeah. All right. I think we're forgetting about something.
Maybe. Is there something else going on in the hockey world that starts tonight? Actually, so we're recording this on Saturday. It's coming out on Sunday. But tonight, yeah. I think something starts, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe, it's the beginning of some series that they play at the end of the year. It's mostly meaningless, but...
Well, you would say that as a Leafs fan, having never seen your team play in it, but... Sorry, I had to go there. Mm-hmm. The Stanley Cup final starts tonight.
The Stanley Cup final does start tonight. The Florida Panthers have... First of all, the Florida Panthers swept Carolina.
What?
How did Carolina have worse fate against Florida than Toronto did?
Well, Bobrovsky, that's why. This is one of the greatest goaltending performances we will ever see.
Oh, yeah. This is this 12-win stretch here that Bobrovsky has. Outrageous. Or I think it's 11. I think Lyon got 1 win in the first series.
Yeah. But this is someone who's spent a lifetime watching Carey Price play.
Yeah.
For my team. And I'm saying this is up there. This is, if they win, better.
He is unconscious.
This is, and even if they lose this series, they could get swept in the final. He still gets the Conn Smythe. What he's done is
it's unbelievable. It's unreal what Sergei Bobrovsky has done. And do you know what the crazy part is? Over the last 2 seasons, he's been one of the worst goalies in the league. Like, actually. And he's been getting paid $10.5 million to be one of the worst goalies in the league. This is what you're paying the $10.5 million for right here. This is worth every penny. Like, this guy is a brick wall. He's like, he's like Hasek and Vasilevsky and Patrick Waugh and Carey Price all had a kid, is how he's playing right now.
And Brodeur and a bit of Luongo.
Like, it's like, outrageous.
Henrik Lundqvist. Like, oh yeah, it's just, like, you know, you just watching the games. So actually in game 4, Carolina scored 3 on him, which I was baffled by.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I
but
was
Florida
like, wow,
scored 4.
Oh, exactly. And can we talk about the 4th goal for a second? Matty Tkachuk with 4 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, Matty Tkachuk is what he is. Matty Tkachuk is what he is, man. What a menace. That kid is unreal. And you know what? He honestly hasn't even played that good overall. And he's probably, if you asked anybody, he's probably second in line right now to win the Conn Smythe. Right?
Yeah.
He hasn't even played that good, but he scored like 3 of the most important goals in his life in the past couple weeks. It's insane.
You know, and like that's the beauty and the magic of the Stanley Cup playoffs is a guy can be playing the not best. Like he had a phenomenal regular season. Let's start there. But his playoffs have not been great. But you score those big goals and it doesn't matter.
It literally does not matter. Like, he'll be revered. And you know what? He's becoming like a pop culture icon down in the States, down in South Florida. Jimmy Butler was wearing his jersey warming up for his NBA, I think that was conference final game. Like, he's huge. He was on the NBA on TNT broadcast with Shaq and Chuck and all those guys. They love him down there right now. Have a little personality and see what happens, Connor. Anyway. Like, seriously, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how inferior when it comes to hockey playing ability is Matt Tkachuk to Connor McDavid, but Matthew Tkachuk has a personality, so they make way more money off of him. Like, that's ridiculous. It's insane. But anyway, not the point. This run by the Florida Panthers, 8 seed Florida Panthers, is unreal. It's truly amazing.
This to me, and you're gonna maybe not like this, but this is the Habs 2021 run.
Yeah, no, I can't argue with you there, man. I cannot argue. Except that the only thing is, like, we took you to 7. What was the Winnipeg series?
We swept Winnipeg and then beat Vegas in 6.
Dude, they're 8-1 in their last 9 playoff games. They are rolling. Like, they are rolling.
Yeah, like it's
magical.
We'll get to predictions later, but like it's hard to look past them right now.
It's like they're playing with house money. They don't even. You know what?
Speaking of house money, their opponents, the Vegas Golden Knights.
The Vegas Golden Knights, who beat the Dallas Stars in Game 7.
6.
Was it 6? I thought it was 7. Oh, no. I'm thinking back to the fucking Seattle-Dallas series, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. It was 6. And, because they went up 3-0, and then they came back 3-2, beat them 4-2. Yeah, okay. Sorry. Yeah. That was an interesting series. And nobody for me on the Vegas Golden Knights, no individual player is really standing out in terms of Conn Smythe odds right now. Like, Jack Eichel's been good.
I was just about to say, Jack Eichel's been pretty fucking good.
But not like Matthew Tkachuk or Sergei Bobrovsky. Like, I'm talking in terms of Conn Smythe, like guys that you're like, okay. Like you said, even if they would get swept right now, I'd still give Bobrovsky the Conn Smythe.
Yeah, no, I think, like, I couldn't tell you who the third person on the, like, 1 and 2 for Conn Smythe is, or 1, 2, 3, but 1 and 2 is Bobrovsky and Tkachuk.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes. You'd think Marchessault maybe has to be there.
I would say Marchessault. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it again. Him or Eichel. I would probably say in there, because he's also been very good too. But yeah, like, Vegas is they've really caught me off guard. I did not think they were deep enough. I didn't think they had the star power to really go this deep. But like, they're just first line to fourth line is just solid. and they're getting great goaltending. I'm really, really excited for this final.
I think it's going to be a very, very good final. We're not going to be able to watch the first 4 games because we're going to be busy all week, but man, it's
we'll find somewhere
it's
to
an
watch
interesting one, and it's one that nobody expected. Sportsnet must be pulling their hair out too, eh? We have a Florida Vegas final. You couldn't get further from Canada.
But you also have to think Bettman is loving this right now, and that annoys me.
Yeah, this is growing. Right.
That's the only thing about this final that annoys me. I love growing the game. I love that these different markets are getting these opportunities. But the fact that Gary Bettman's happy about it annoys me.
Yeah. Anything that makes Gary happy drives me nuts.
Yeah,
honestly.
So game 1 is tonight, Saturday night. So obviously this is coming out Sunday, so the result will be known. But let's get a prediction for the final. Ave, who you got?
Well, it obviously begins in Vegas. I think they'll take the first one at home if we're talking about just the game. If we're talking about the series, I think it's difficult to bet against the Florida Panthers. I really do. They're just, if Bobrovsky, I thought he was going to turn back into a piece of Swiss cheese against Carolina, and that just did not happen.
He was better.
The only thing that worries me about betting on Florida, honestly, is they've had way too much time off. And there's one guy that worries me about because he's one of the streakiest people on planet Earth, and that is Sergei Bobrovsky. Yeah. I don't know, man. 10 days off probably isn't good for him. Let's be real.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from there. And I don't know. I think the series is entirely dependent on him and him alone.
Yes.
He shows up, Florida wins the cup.
Yeah.
If he does not show up, it's not even going to be close.
If he plays what he's been playing they're winning the Stanley Cup. But that's what I'm telling you, man. I think this 10 days off here, or whatever it's been, is not conducive to staying that hot, staying on that roll. He's almost cooled off now, And we've seen how bad he can be. And it's always...
We've also seen how good he can be.
Yes, but with him, it's always a switch that flips, right? It's always that switch, and I think that 10 days off. What else is a switch other than you know what I'm saying?
No, I fully get that. I just think at this point you're at, you're not at the finish line, but you're right there. You're looking at the finish line and going, whatever these 7 or less games that we have to play, I need to just stay up here. I cannot waver from this level for the next 7 or less games. Between 4 and 7 games, that's it. And I think Bobrovsky is good enough to do that, to be like, you know what? I can do 7 games and then fall off a cliff. And I can be god-awful next year and the year after that. I just need to get through these 7. And then...
I don't think it's a choice he makes. That's, you know what I'm saying? It's just what happens.
But I think when you're in this circumstance, you're in a Stanley Cup final, you're not that it's a choice, but maybe I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase it. The self-talk, the how you're dealing with it. How I think that changes. Yeah, the mindset has changed. This isn't regular season Bobrovsky anymore, where it's we're traveling to, we had a back-to-back, so I'm not playing tomorrow night. We're traveling to things, so I'll get a couple games off there. It's just win, champion. That's it.
But his past, the way that he has performed in the past and the patterns that he has shown in his past, the thing that worries me here, 10 days off, what if Vegas goes in and they're on a 3-on-2 and somebody shoots one from the outside and it trickles in? Bobrovsky is very, very likely to blow up at that point. Yeah. To absolutely blow up. And all it takes is that little trickle. But Vegas has a better team, right? Vegas has a better team.
It could have taken that trickle against Toronto, against Boston.
Yeah, but there were no 10-day periods between any of those series, buddy. He's been doing a lot of thinking. And sometimes that's not good when you're trying to stay on a heater. That's all I'm saying. That's all.
I think you raise a very valid point. I'm finding it difficult to argue with you because your point is valid. I just think we've also not seen Bobrovsky play games at this level before. Like, he's never been competing for anything. He's been playing a lot of meaningless hockey for his career.
He knocked the Leafs out in that stupid play-in tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done it twice now.
Yeah. But, like, you know what I mean, though, right? Like, this is, and I think maybe this is the bump that he needs to find that next level, and where it's not, a flick of a switch and he's, a house league goalie. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see tonight in a couple hours.
I'm excited. You'll be here to watch it. I'm excited to watch this hockey game.
Well, depending how long it takes to get this edited and thing, I might be a little late, but I'll be there.
Okay, sounds good. You can bring your laptop here and do it.
I might. That's a shout.
There you go. Anyway,
let's start the details after.
Okay.
All right. So who are you going to take? You're going to take Florida? I'm
wishy-washy on this one.
Okay. Well,
no. I'm taking Vegas. Mike Amadio's bringing the cup home to Sault Ste. Marie.
I'd love to see that. Gut feeling is it's Florida.
Really?
Yeah. The way they've been playing, the way Bobrovsky's been playing, I think Florida takes it.
For me, it's just Vegas has a better team, and they have a Sioux boy. I'd like to see the Stanley Cup. Go Knights.
I would love to, too. Mike Matty, always a friend of the show.
Yes. Yes, Gitano had gym class with Mike Amadio at one point.
Fucking freak athlete. So, like, literally, when like a gym class teacher like makes up random fucking games to play just to like.
Yep.
It was like, yeah, they could make up whatever fucking game and he would just dominate. But also super nice guy, great guy. So I would love to see him win a Stanley Cup. I think he deserves that personally. He was a great guy. But I just can't. I think Bobrovsky's got one more series in him of being elite $10.5 million Bobrovsky.
All right, let's see it. All right. I think that's it for us today. Do you have anything else you wanted to add on?
No, we got through all the other stuff earlier, so I am good.
Fantastic. Sorry, I'm just crushing a gummy bear. I love gummy bears. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This was episode 98 of the Bitter Rivals podcast. We are excited. We are approaching 100. That is outrageous that we have done this 100 times almost.
Yeah.
I can't believe that. Thank you for being here along the way. Thank you to the Game Entertainment and Media for being a partner with us. We very, very much appreciate it. And we will talk to you next weekend. We actually are going out of town this week. We're going to go live it up in Toronto for a week. So we'll let you know about that next week too. Thank you for listening. Talk to you for episode 99.